of those orphans that we have in the nursery at the moment, their reason for being here, it is human-related reasons. If it is not about the fights that we are experiencing in between human beings and the wild animals because of space, it is because of poaching. But number one on my list is poaching. Someone was interested in an ornament, just an ornament, buying it on a market, necklace, see, buying catchets which are made out of ivory. You are sending out the poachers to go kill them.
I think what we're doing in conservation today is slowing the pace of destruction and degradation of wild species until other problems are dealt with by other people in different ways.
There's two kinds of poaching. One is the commercial, which is the rhino horn, ivory for the Chinese markets. The other is the subsistence poaching. Slowly, what's been happening, there's been huge increment in the population of Kenya. In 1950, we were 7 million. Today, we are over 45 million, and we don't even know for sure. All these people are creating a conflict between man and beast. And at the end of the day, who has more right? Man over beast.
Corruption has become a very real problem for African countries. It's at every level. The rangers are corrupt. Many of their officers are corrupt. Many of their officers' bosses are corrupt. Many of the people in the government are corrupt. Many people in the ports authority are corrupt. Airports authority are clearing agents. It's partly fed by poverty. And a pair of elephant tusks can make a difference of whether you educate your children in high school for a year or not. And that's one pair of elephant tusks, not necessarily very big.
So we need to do something, and it's not only for the conservation societies, it should be everyone's responsibility. I believe it is our mandate as human beings to take care of them. So we are failing this. Some of them, we know exactly what happens or what caused them to separate from their families. One of the main reasons, it is because of poaching, where a majority of them have fallen victim because of ivory. It is very sad, whereby as human beings, we are the ones perfecting this. It is very wrong because I believe our human value can be changed. It is not very long from now before they all disappear. Majority of these orphans, they are here because of human-related reasons. I will say it's work of my dream. I first of all came here, that's about 17 years ago, just as a local tourist. And on the first visit, I actually fell in love with elephants. It's very important for you to have a heart for the elephants before you start working here. At the moment, they're about 4 months old. We have an intention of rehabilitating them back into the wild when they mature. Any question? Elephants have got their own way of communication, even through their sense of smell. You will always find the other wild animals beside the elephants. Why? Why all this? It is the elephants who will direct the other animals where to get the water. This is because it is the elephants who are considered to be the cadre of the wild.
This project is Ambose's Trust for Elephants. I started working in this project in 1985, so now I'm approaching 30 years. We go out every day to study elephants' behavior, and in Ambose National Park there are 1,500 elephants, and we know them by names. So what we do when we go out, we do the sensors, monitoring their movement. Working with elephants is very interesting. Elephants, they are very intelligent animals. They do communicate. When Cynthia studied this project in 1972, Joyce Paul joined her, and she was doing the communication of elephants, and she was using a machine, and from the machine, she realized that we have this sound of elephants beyond our hearing, and those the sounds go far, far, far. about even 10 kilometers. They think it's their stomach making noise.
Elephants talk to each other. We just haven't broken the code to be able to decipher what they're telling each other, whether they do it in a spoken form, because we hear rumbling of the stomach, sounds like digestive noises. If you sit around elephants for a while, you start to realize that they are communicating with each other.
Most of the people think that the elephants, when they're making that noise, but that's how they communicate, because if you're looking at the forehead, you can see even the movement when they're communicating. So we also know some of their communication, what does mean.
In 1951, my aunt had a travel agency and she was among the pioneers to do photographic safaris. The company was called the Travel Bureau, and so they used to take tourists to the mission stations, and they used to run them from Nairobi. They used to go to Asmara, from Asmara to Ethiopia, and sometimes also as far as Mogadishu. And it used to take about 36 hours to fly from Europe. And so this is how it all began. Let's say this is the real beginning of what is today's photographic safaris. My dad, after a short while of working at Travel Bureau, he was interested, he was a keen hunter. And then after a few years, he decided that he wanted to do it on his own. So he set up his own company, Walter BG Safaris. He started hunting in Tanzania, and that's when I joined him as well. We hunted Tanzania for about 7-8 years. Tanzania was a bit difficult in those days. It wasn't easy to operate there. The borders were closed. Everything had to come from Kenya, and not always did you get permission to import it. It was a lifestyle, because in the early days, hunting was something for the very rich.
Elephants, they're very smart. If they're harassed, they know the dangerous places or the dangerous people. They know their enemies.
Where are the big buyers of ivory? Who are these buying the last end product of ivory? Which markets? You will speak of even US. We have got markets for ivory, ornaments and gadgets all over. So, we fail in one place or the other when we only look at China. And we are almost everybody is concentrated on China. We are looking at China. We are not looking at Asia as general. And then secondly, we come in to everyone.
In the Arab countries, use it for the handle for their knife as a traditional ornament, and they've been doing it for centuries. In China, they think that the rhino horn ground into powder is aphrodisiac, which is a whole load of nonsense. It's just compacted hairs. It's like if you cut your nail and you let it to grow again, of course it would take a lifetime, the horn would probably grow. Now, these are the utensils of the animals, okay? The rhino uses his horn to dig, to find the roots during the dry season, or to find water. If you chop his horn off, it's like sentencing him to death should there be a drought. The elephant and the tusks are the same. It's for defense, it's for digging, for water. They're tools.
There was an enormous market in Japan, but also in Europe, for elephant tusks. And the majority of the buyers of ivory in the shops in Japan and shops in Europe had no idea that they were buying things that had been taken out of the wild illegally. Elephants had been killed for this purpose.
We used to get a lot of clients from the United States who had been ex-Marines during the Vietnam or Korean War before that. They would take amphetamines, doing a bit of drugs, and then we had collectors who would come and they were only after world records for their in-house museums. They were not bloodthirsty. The clients from the States, they had a little bit too much the blood in their nostrils. They would hire a helicopter and shoot from a helicopter, which is illegal, but this was a bit their mentality. And you used to have a very hard time controlling them. They wanted to shoot.
The opportunities for poaching are still quite good because the surveillance in the wildlife areas isn't as good as it should be. Getting ivory and other illegal wildlife products out of the country to market isn't very difficult.
Yes, many people have talked about China partnering with Kenya and other African countries. Yes, it is costing us so much because we have given them road construction. It won't be a problem for them to move ivory from Kenya to Uganda and then to Tanzania or wherever they want to go because they are connecting.
Customs people aren't properly paid, policemen aren't properly paid, judges aren't properly paid. And these are very lucrative things you can sell and do very well with. So if I had a young family and I had a meager salary and I saw politicians and top people with big cars and living very well, and I thought the chances of getting caught were rather remote because I could buy my way out of trouble, I would do it because you want to save your family. I was very outspoken all my life, and I was told at times that it would lead to my being killed. And I said, well, that's not going to stop me because you can only be killed once. They did try a couple of times, whoever they were. Lost my legs. I had various other incidents in my life. I was thoroughly beaten with whips and clubs. My car destroyed at a political rally shortly after a major series of death threat incidents. The national television and radio had announced the day before that the government of Kenya would not be willing to guarantee my safety if I went to Nakuru, which is a town about 100 miles north of Nairobi. And I thought, well, what nonsense, I'm going straight away. So I went to Nakuru, as planned, and I was thoroughly beaten and very nearly killed. But the best way to deal with this sort of threat environment is to fight it and not be cowed by it. I didn't want to give them the satisfaction that they could scare me. They can't.
Even my local Kenyans, if all of us, we will be speaking in one voice because there are others who will say that what do we care out of ivory? What do we care out of elephants? Or what do we care out of rhino? They do not know. They still need education.
Publicity is help a lot, even people learning more about the elephants. Somebody doesn't know about the elephants, how they live. So it's better publicity so that people understand more about the elephants and why elephants are important. When we are trying to prevent not killing elephants or banning the ivory trade, so they don't understand why we are doing so. But it's good if the publicity so that to show people to learn the importance of the animals and why they're supposed to be there.
Look at what we are doing to them. We are human beings and we go to school, we get education. They don't go to school and get education, maybe in the wild, but we have all this knowledge, but we mistreat. We are destroying the nature, not only the elephants. We are destroying nature. So that's why I normally say they have got a better mind than that of human beings.
I wanted to draw public attention. And I didn't know how to do it because we needed to reach 2 or 3 billion people. That's hard to do if you haven't got a huge budget. And I thought, well, if I did something absolutely outrageous, like burn 12 tons of ivory, it's never been done before. Everybody thought that it would be a great mistake. It would push the price of ivory up. It really got around the world as a dramatic statement of concern about elephants. And a lot of people then started looking into why we were concerned and realized why we were concerned. So the world was absolutely fascinated to see what this madman was doing in Kenya. When we burned the ivory, it was costed at about 150 US dollars a pound. 4 months after we burnt the ivory, the price of ivory had come down to less than $5 a pound. Because people stopped buying it, people were shocked. And that's why I did it. Now, I don't think burning ivory now, on a small scale, will necessarily have the same impact. As people say, a good souffle never rises twice. Kenya is now burning reasonable quantities. I'd like to see them burn all the ivory. I think it can have the same impact, and people can say, whoa, this is really not a good product, and something needs to be done in disposing of ivory as a worthless commodity. I was in Hong Kong recently, and clearly the majority of the people I talked to had absolutely no idea. They were shocked and appalled. And when we showed pictures of slaughtered elephants and pictures of these piles of ivory that we set fire to many years ago, I mean, many of the students just burst into tears. They were horrified and appalled. I think China is going to respond to the need to stop ivory trade, not because of Prince William or Richard Leakey or President Uhuru Kenyatta, but because they've got an educated, younger population now who are reasonably well off, watch television, and very smart people who've got an education and are made aware of what's happening will think of the same solution as anybody else.
We need to speak even to the local. We need to educate them. They need to find better means of driving these animals back to the wild rather than fighting them because of space. In the first place, we are, as human beings, we are the intruders. We have taken over what belonged to them. We have developed these areas. We have set up homes. We have set up farms, and we are doing farming.
People are farming, building hotels. So now the elephants, they don't have home. They don't know where to go. We are having human conflicts a lot because of farming. So the elephants, they go in the farm, destroy their whatever crops, even killing people. But the problem now is we are having that conflict because elephants, they are using their areas when they go out of the park.
To some point, the wild animals will lack food. They want to migrate from one area to the other. Whenever they try to do this, they will encounter our homes, our farms. When we find them on these farms, we beat them up, we kill them, we leave them wounded. We separate the little ones from their families because they are running in fear of man. Look like what is happening to Nairobi National Park. It has been surrounded by human beings, by communities who were not there before. So the migration that we used to experience from Savo West to Nairobi National Park, it doesn't exist anymore. It has been closed by human beings.
So I don't think we've solved the problem. I don't think we can ever solve the problem if that's the only thing we want to do. But I think we can slow the pace, we can reduce the losses, whilst people are developing social programs, economic programs. And really what's going on is poor people haven't got time to appreciate nature. People relatively well off can. And if we can uplift the living standards of the world's poor people, give them some hope and give them some security, then I think the message of conservation will be much easier to put across.
If we can say no to these ornaments, no to the gadgets, I believe those that we can take care of will be of natural resources. If all of the East and Central Africa will be fighting against poaching as Kenya is, then we will be standing a better chance. And then the other problem is that to some extent, very prominent people will be mentioned in the trade of ivory within the Kenyan country.
We have to have a political leadership that is prepared to say enough is enough. And, I'm sorry, you were my friend, you are my friend, but it doesn't mean I'm not going to support you being put in jail.